Keith, I understand you had distribution for Mason Brothers during production. Is that right?
Right. So we had a pre-sales deal with my distributor prior to. So I wrote the script in, let's see, it was November of 2015, and then shortly afterwards I had a pre-sales deal with my distributor. So I had, before we started filming, I had distribution already locked in. So I was very fortunate with that.
And so please tell us, because we have so many filmmakers trying to figure out how to get distribution. I mean, how did you even get the conversation started with distributors? Was this the first one you talked to?
You know, people have asked me that before. I think, so I met my distributor, from what I remember, because I go to American Film Market every year, which most people should go if you're in the industry. And you're always meeting, when you're there, it's like a big madhouse of distributors and, you know, financiers. Everyone's just, it's like multiple floors in Santa Monica at the Lowe's. I think it's the Lowe's Hotel. But I just met so many different distributors there, and I stayed in contact or email. And I think I was in touch with my distributor after that, from what I remember, if I'm not wrong. So I just kind of, I think they reached out to me, or I reached out to them shortly after, like months later, and then we started talking. And then I told them that, you know, I had this feature film that I was shooting in the summer of 2016. And then we talked about a deal, and then we ended up negotiating and locked in a deal. So it was pretty exciting to have that going into principal photography shooting production. It was good to have that on the table.
So you came to LA in 2012?
2012, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then, was this your first AFM? Was in like, what, 2015 or 2016?
Around there, 2015 maybe, 2014.
Okay.
15 or 14, around there. I've been there a couple years now, like 2 or 3 years I've been there.
Oh, okay. So
going.
was this your second time when you
I believe so. Yes,
Oh,
yes.
cool.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe you felt more at ease, and then when you went, I mean, like, what was your mindset to just start talking to people and find out who's a distributor, and then
Right.
just tell them about, you know?
Right. Just networking. A lot of this industry, like I've told people before, I mean, 99% of it's relationships and networking, meeting people, and you know, people who want to work with you and you want to work with them. So my goal was just going there and meeting as many people I can, distributors, and who I would work well with. So I ended up exchanging a lot of cards with people and telling about the projects I had with my production company. And then yeah, I just stayed in touch through emails, just constantly emailing people, and it's just a constant hustle.
So I'm curious, because I mean, sometimes big events like that are kind of terrifying. Are you going in, is it like almost like a bar, like a party situation, and then you're striking up conversations with people? How does that work?
Kind of, not really, but kind of. It's so they have, when you go to American Film Market, they have, like I said, different levels, different stories of, it's like, I think like 7 or 8 stories high, like the hotel, it's a hotel. And then every room at this hotel is a suite. Obviously they have different rooms, and there's distributors in every single room, sometimes even 2. But usually a distributor will have their own room, or a production company, or so they're a type of company, investors, people like that. So you really just go around to the different rooms, and there's like a sign-in sheet. You can sign in, or you can call or email their company weeks in advance and make an appointment. And then you can make an appointment for either a project you have in development with, you know, acquisitions, or a project that's already done, what you're trying to sell. You know, you just basically tell them what you want, and they'll book you for an appointment if they're interested. And then afterwards, usually they close down at like 6 p.m. and then you have everyone goes down to like the bar afterwards, and that's really where a lot of negotiations begin over a drink. So it's a great event. I think everybody in the industry should go. If you're a producer, especially if you're a director, writer, actor, anything, you should go. It's a must.
You have to pay an admission fee.
Right, you do have to pay.
Okay, sounds like it's definitely worth it.
But it's worth it, yeah.
So when you went that one time, how many cards would you say you got from distributors?
Oh gosh. I would say maybe close to 100, maybe less. Well, I'm exaggerating, maybe like 50 or so.
That's a lot.
But I had like a huge bag full of just like dozens and dozens of cards. You're like going through, trying to memorize who you talk to and stuff. So, but a lot, yes, definitely a lot.
Interesting. Okay, so then you get home, and are you emailing them? How is this? What happens once you have this bag of cards?
Right. Well, both. So you're following up with the people that you talk to, and based on whatever your conversation was on if they like the project, or if you're trying to sell something, or get, you got a project in development, you're looking for financing. However they are, there's some guys who would, like, for instance, email me if they say, hey, you talked about that film, we're interested in that, let us know, you said you were shooting it in whatever the summertime, we'd be interested in distributing it if you want to talk about that. So it's a little bit of both, but mostly it's kind of in your hands. It's your own. You have to reach out to them a lot because they have so many people that they're talking to. Unless they really love your project or whatever you're trying to, pitch or you're shooting soon, that they want to take on.
Interesting. And so then, how many of them said, "Can we see the script"? Like, at what point, or did some get back to you, some not get back to you, and then some said, "Can we see the script"?
I mean, some did. Some did. A lot more interested in, hey, when's the shoot schedule? When will you be done? And what's the story? Who's attached? Really, they really want to know who's attached. Oh. That's the first question they ask: is who's attached? What actors? What director? What producers? Because as you know, a lot of people, industry, you sell a movie usually based on the actors and the talent when are attached, or sometimes the director if it's a big name director, but usually the name talent. So that's the first question they ask: is who's attached? What actors? So they ask that, and what's the story about? When are you shooting it? When will it be done? Things like that. I mean, they will ask for the script, afterwards. But so.
Oh, that's great. And so, so you're following up, or they're contacting you, and then you actually shoot the film, and then when you go to follow up with those various people, how many actually follow through?
What do you mean when the film's done?
Yeah, so you shot, if I'm understanding this correctly, so you shot the film, and then you're like, hey guys, to these different distributors,
right?
I'm done. You guys want to take a look at it, or?
Right. Well, you can do that, obviously. And I mean, to answer your question, like, a lot of from my other friends within the industry, with directors and other producers and people in that nature, if you have a finished product, and if the picture looks good, they're gonna want to see a trailer, obviously, and a key art, a poster. And if they like that, I mean, most distributors, if it looks good, sounds good, they're going to be interested. Somebody will be interested, even if there's not a key actor or somebody attached. However, with my film, since I already had that pre-sales deal with my distributor prior to shooting, I didn't do that because I already had that locked in. So, like, when the film was, I had a contract with them before shooting. So basically, once the film was done, the film goes to them. They take a certain percentage for every sale. So that's kind of how that worked with me. So I wasn't doing like all these emails with the feature. I just did.
Ah, okay. So. Sorry. Yeah, I was trying to understand that. That's fascinating. So this is your first feature, and you're already locking in a distribution deal before it's shot?
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
It is. Yeah. It's. I was fortunate. It's very hard to get distribution. It's very, very hard. It's hard to get distribution and financing for a film in general. So, like, making a film and pushing it through to its final ending and getting out to a distributor and marketing it and stuff is extremely hard, and I'm very fortunate to get to that. I mean, it was tough. So, but yeah, that's what happened.
Let me see if I understand this, Keith. So you said that your distributor wanted you to have named talent attached. How did you prove to them that you had different people attached, and who were these people? What were their credits?
Right. So I mean, I had a great cast. I had a lot of good cast members attached. Where we're in like a lot of day roles and TV shows and stuff. And one, Julian Cesario, was in, I think, Sunset Beach back in the '90s, and he was in some good stuff. And I had him. And then what really sold my distributor on taking on the film, from what I remember, was my cinematographer, Earl Weber. He is, in 2010, he was part of a short film in 2010. What's called American Promise, I believe it was called. What won an Academy Award and Oscar in 2010, and he was the cinematographer on the film, a director of photography. And like his reel was awesome. I mean, his reel was awesome. His resume was awesome, and just all that together, I think, is what sold them onto getting the pre-sales deal done. But I think a lot of it had to do with Earl being part of the Oscar-winning movie in 2010, a short film. What really sold onto them coming on board. And then, like I said, I had good cast members, but were in day roles and TV shows and stuff. And then my music composers, in my opinion, the best in the business, or one of the best, Federico Villona. And he was attached, and he's awesome too. So.
Now, I know you've done shorts before on your own. Did they ask to see those as well so that they could see your other work in
Yes.
shorter form? Oh.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I mean, they saw my resume. I gave them my resume and the IMDb and stuff, and then they asked for my shorts. Yes, so they got to see my style from directing and as a writer as well. So I think all those things in totality, as a total package, is what helped get the deal. But I know Earl Weber was a big influence as well, since he was part of that movie in 2010. I mean, winning an Oscar is huge, or being part of a film winning an Oscar.
So going back to American film market, if you were to go again today or go again for the first time, is there anything you would do differently?
Yes, I mean, I would come more with a packaged film. I mean, even when I was going with like the Mason Brothers to American Film Market, I had other projects too. It wasn't just that one. I was a little more green in the business. I mean, I didn't know as much, but I would come with more of a complete package, more people attached. I didn't have all these different cast members attached, even at American Film Market. I had some, but as time went on, and then when I finally spoke to my distributor, I had more people attached. But I would come more with a prepared package, especially with just more names and more people, just to show them this is what it is. So that, and then then obviously ready to show any type of proof of financing that they can see. I mean, I don't have to have it right there at the market, but you know, it's ready to, if they want to see, hey, where's the proof of financing that you have to shoot this, so we can do a deal, you know, within the next week or two.
Do you mind if I ask what the budget was?
Sure, I'll tell people it was under $1 million. It was under $1 million, but yeah, I usually don't tell people it's a little secret.
Okay, all right, okay, so we won't find. But how are you getting the financing for that?
So for this one, the feature I did, the Mason Brothers, was through me and a private investor. We financed it, so I was fortunate because it wasn't a massive budget. I mean, this wasn't like in Hollywood standards, even like $5 million is considered not a big budget.
Right.
But it wasn't like a $3 to $5 million movie. So we were able to, me and us and a private investor, we came up with a way to self-finance it.
Forgive me if I'm prying too much, but had you known this person previously?
Yes.
Oh, you had. Okay.
For a long time.
Okay.
Very long time.
Okay. So they trusted you.
Right,
They knew.
yeah.
Okay, I see. You're not just like meeting them at Sundance and hey.
No.
Okay.
Which is tough. I mean, I'm glad you touched on that. I see a lot of different other producers and filmmakers, and it's just like going out nowadays to try to find investors. You have to, if you don't know them already, it's hard. You have to establish a relationship and meet these people, and it's like, what's their guarantee they're gonna get their money back, and what's in it for them, really? So you have to really influence them, unless you've known them forever and he's like, here's my marketing strategy, and you have a track record too. That helps, obviously.
So that's pretty exciting and terrifying here. You're what, 27? Were you 27 at the time?
Well,
I
was 28.
28, okay.
I just turned 30 now, so we shot when I was 29. We shot the movie when I was 29. It was summer of 2016. And then released it in this past April when I was still 29, right before I turned 30. So I was about 28
cool.
for that film market when I was selling this film.
Wow, so here you have someone that believes in you,
right.
But at the same time, there's money on the line, and it's probably got to be exhilarating, but also nerve-wracking because...
Yes, it's, you feel the pressure. I mean, there's so much money involved and stuff in this industry, and people, you know, relying on you to get it done and your team. So it's, this isn't like similar businesses maybe where the startup fees like $5 or $10 to get going. I mean, making a feature film's like, I mean, every film varies. I mean, it depends on how you make your film, but I mean, it could take anywhere from like $100 to make a feature film to 10 million or more. So it's just like, and essentially every film's a startup business is what it is technically. So, you know, getting a startup fee of that's huge for any business. And
it became an LLC.
Right.
Did you take it to an attorney to turn it into a corporation?
Well, the film didn't. My company, because I knew a lot of films do that. Most films do to make it an LLC. I didn't for this one, but my production company obviously an LLC. So that's what was, you know, that's what produced it, and you know, under my company.
Oh, okay.
Made it.
So you already had that structure in place.
Right. Prior.
Okay. Wow. And did you have someone talking you through this? I mean, it's pretty amazing. Even as many, interviews as I've done with Film Courage, I wouldn't know all the steps to do since I've never fully produced a feature on my own.
Right.
I've had other people around me, but how did you know to do all this? Forgive me.
Oh.
No.
It's a good question. So I started making short films. That's where I started, and I learned a lot from there. I kind of took from that background. And making a short film is nothing like making a feature, obviously. But I've always produced and line produced all my films, all my short films. Which for people who know what line producing is, just putting together, coming up with the contacts to put together the film. Getting your location managers, locations, scripts, getting your DP, your gaffer, all the people to assemble. I've always done it for every film of mine. So I kind of knew that I was always doing that anyways. And then for the feature, I had two or three other people come on and help me out. And we started doing like the script breakdown, and we just started lining the locations up and all the crew, and then start casting. And we just kind of went with it. We just went with it. I started locking everything in, and then we came up with a shoot schedule, and then we just started shooting. And then when post-production came, we just kept going after that.
So you had done it on a smaller scale,
Right.
and you knew many things, and then you assembled sort of a couple people around you that.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
That's great. How long did it take you to write Mason Brothers?
About 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Yeah,
Okay. Wow.
about a month.
Wow. Do you remember where you came up with the idea?
As people have asked me that before, I don't know. I've always loved heist movies and crime thriller movies, and since the 90s, there hasn't been a lot of like those old school movies like Heat and LA Confidential. I mean, there were so many great movies from the 90s, which I loved growing up, and I haven't seen a movie like that in a long time. It was kind of like that type of 90s heist movie, and I've always wanted to do a heist movie. So I just came up with a story of just a group of brothers that are tight group of brothers, and it's about the death of one of their youngest brothers and them trying to seek revenge on their brother's killer from their setup of this bank heist for $10 million. So it's weird how the creative mind works with like coming up with stories. It just kind of came to me. I've always wanted to do a heist movie. I just sat down and thought, hey, this is a cool concept, and I started writing it, non-linear, and just came up with it.
And did you write the Mason Brothers script here?
I did.
You did. Okay.
I did, yeah.
Would you pick a certain time of day? Like, how would you start working on it?
Nighttime.
Nighttime. Oh, wow.
This is quiet. No one's calling me, texting me. It's easier for me to concentrate.
Interesting. And how many drafts did you do before you were ready to actually do the production?
I only did two.
Two?
Well, here's the thing. I did, like they say, when you shoot a film, usually the script's always changing up to the day of shooting, even during shooting. So I did like two full drafts, so I wrote it once and I did one full revision, right? And then little things were changed throughout the weeks all the way up till shooting. Like little things with the dialogue maybe, and some of the sets, changing props around, and little things like that. And then the day of the shooting, we're like, okay, maybe this works better for the actor saying this, or for this happening in the scene instead. So little things were changed all the way up to the shooting.
Did you have did you have anyone else read it with the two drafts? Anyone that you were,
Yes, yeah. One of my producing partners read it, and he was, hey man, you should probably change this, so I had some advice on people, obviously. On little things like, hey, maybe look at this, just to clarify that, so you're not repetitive with maybe this or something. So,
are there a certain number of scenes or pages you would write every day? Like, I know you said you wrote it non-linear and different things like that, but like, were you very disciplined when it came to how much time you put in every day to it?
Yes, I didn't have like a specific amount of hours maybe, because you get writer's block, and it's like after that you're kind of like, I think I'll call it quits for today and kind of go back tomorrow. So it just varied. Some days it was like maybe 2 hours, maybe one day it was like 1 hour. I didn't really have like a set amount of scenes I wanted in a day, but I did want the script done in a certain amount of time. I didn't really say like, well, I want it done in a month, but I want it done in at least 2 months or so. But I was fortunate to get it done in a month, because I wrote other scripts and it was like, it takes longer. I just wrote my last script. I'm in development now with this other feature. It took me 2.5 months to write. So it's just weird how it could take you either a month or 2.5 months or whatever. It just depends on how you're able to think and come up with different stuff, concepts. So.
And you play Ren in the movie?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so did you know that you wanted to be in it as well? Because I know you have a passion for acting as well. That's why you came to LA, right?
Right. Yeah, so like with all my other films, all my other short films I started doing, kind of like a trademark of mine, I do like some other directors do. I put myself in my own movies, usually as a strong supporting or one of the leads. So my concept behind it is like, well, it's a cool trademark that some directors do. And then also people would understand, like when you make a film, especially like a feature, you spend so much time doing it. It's a lot of money, a lot of time that you're so involved in it that it's like, why not put, if you're gonna spend so much time doing it, why not be in it and be all in with being in the film and stuff, which, I mean, it creates more, it's a little harder, obviously, trying to direct behind camera and being in it, obviously, too. But, yes, so from the start, I wanted to play one of the 4 leads, which is Ren's the oldest brother of the group.
Is he like you?
A little bit.
How so?
Yeah. Well, maybe, the character doesn't speak a whole lot. I mean, I speak. I'm not saying I'm not like this is a quiet guy, but he's kind of a no-nonsense type of guy. He's kind of lets his actions speak. He's not like, like off the chain, like running his mouth, like totally angry and stuff like that. I mean, some of these other characters. So he's a little more focused and humble. I say humble, focused, and low-key. And I kind of see myself kind of like that a little bit, at least low-key,
Okay. So you identify with him and you liked playing him?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's great.
Which a lot of the characters I put in my films are like that too. They're very kind of the quiet type, like the Clint Eastwood. They're not a whole lot of dialogue, but he's like one of the lead, guys in the film who makes his actions speak for his words type of deal. Right. So.
Is there a certain screenplay structure you like to use?
Yes. I write all my screenplays non-chronological or non-linear. It's just a style of mine. Similar writer-directors do it. It's how I write. It's how I love to write. I think it makes the story a lot more intriguing because you can take like maybe a film which, I'm not bashing dramas, but I'm just using it as an example. You take like a drama, or a film which maybe doesn't have a lot of action, just a lot of dialogue, it's not interesting. But if you take the timeline and you splice it up and you break it up into pieces, and you cut it back and forth in the timeline from like past to present, it can make for a lot more interesting story. So it lets the audience kind of have to piece together the puzzle on what's going on in the story, and it just makes it a lot more interesting. So you take that style and you put it with maybe like a crime thriller or an action film, you can make a great film, I think. And there's some other directors who do that too. Chris Nolan's an example. He's just a master of that, I think. He's really good at that.
Yeah. Are you thinking about hitting certain beats, or within this amount of pages I need to have this happen when you write?
Yes. For each story it's a little different, but for the most part, yes, I'm trying to capture the audience's attention, especially in the beginning of the movie, and at certain points. So I still have like my plot points and certain parts where I'm trying to create more suspense or action or something going on to keep audience's attention, because that's very important to screenwriting. So there's a structure to it, yes. There's a structure.
I know you've mentioned all the favorite directors that you have and the films, but were there certain screenwriting books that helped you, or was it just watching these films like Drive? I know you've mentioned.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's
and
a good movie.
different other films like that.
Somebody told me this, I don't remember who it was, but I really learned screenwriting and how to format and how to do it just by reading a lot of screenplays for my favorite movies. So from watching my favorite films and from reading my favorite screenplays from different movies, that's really what I kind of learned. Just reading them over and over again and how they did it, and like I said, the structure and stuff. So that's just by reading a lot of them, really.
From the time when you were a little kid, did you read a lot? Did you devour?
A little bit, not
Yeah?
really. I watched more movies than I did read.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really like reading,
No.
not a whole lot. I didn't really like reading. I love watching movies though, and that's why I make films now. I think it's a passion.
Forgive me, Keith, but I just have to ask, so if it takes you a month to write a screenplay, I'm just going to try to play devil's advocate here, how good could it really be if it takes a month? Shouldn't you put more time into it?
I think it depends on the writer, and it really depends on the content was created. you have to be honest with yourself and sit down after you've written the screenplay and say, is this what I wanted to write? Is this what I tried to make? And is this what I want to make for a film? Because like for me, for instance, I write screenplays to make films. I'm not really like a screenwriter in a sense. I mean, I write screenplays, but that's to make the film, obviously. That's because there's some people who just write screenplays, obviously, right? And then they don't really direct or do anything with it. They just sell them. But I think it just depends on the what you come up with. You have to sit down, like I said, and read through it and say, is this what I wanted? Am I content with this? Because there's some people who will take 10 months to write a screenplay, or years, which for me, it's too long. I mean, if it takes that long, it takes that long. But I'm always trying to create content to shoot something to make, because I want to make feature films, right? So I'm always coming up with stuff to, okay, I want to make this film, you know, let's get it done, let's write it and revise it, look at it, and then let's try to find a way to make it. So I'm always not on a time crunch, but I'm always trying to make my next project.
Is that your style in life too? Just when you know you want to do something, you're just all in on it and you do it? Okay.
Yes, no, I 100% agree. I think so. If I want something, I'm just always on the hustle every single day trying to achieve that goal. I always have that goal in mind every single day when I wake up. It's there. I mean, that's what I have written down. And I try to do something every single day what furthers my career. You know, whatever it is. If it's emailing people, calling people, going to a networking event, writing another screenplay, shooting something just to further it every single day. And that's, if you do that every single day, I think, and you have that mindset in the hustle, then you'll always be moving forward.
So when you came here in 2012, you were more hoping to act, right? You were kind of planning to be an actor?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Or that was...
Here's the thing. Well, no, because here's the thing. I think a lot of people, because when you see a film, like, so I grew up loving films as a child, as a kid, and when you see a film, the first thing you see is the actors, but you don't know about all of their jobs on the set. You don't know what the director of photography, the camera operators, the gaffers, the grips, you know, the second unit, you know, coordinator, directors, all these people. You don't know about their jobs, so you see the actors. So you're like, well, that's what I want to do. I want to be involved in films. So that's kind of the first thing a lot of people I've seen they get into is usually the acting or stunt acting or something like that. So that was the first thing I was trying to get into. And then I've always been interested in producing and writing, directing my own stuff. And I went to a film program for about almost a year, and then I started making my own content, and I fell in love with really directing more than anything. That's kind of what my true passion is, I think.
So it's 2012, and although the recession was technically over, I believe it still was lingering here in LA. Things hadn't really recovered, so there's that issue. But how was it for you driving around to auditions? I know you had talked about that previously, and that is such a huge part of being an actor. How was that for you, and how was that an eye-opener?
It's a tough life. Every person who's an actor, and I appreciate that. Like them taking on that is very hard to do, and it takes a lot of patience and a lot of time. I mean, what you making a film does, but even that, because there's so much rejection in that. You're just driving around town, and you walk into a room with 50 other people who look just like you, and they're just as skilled as you, and you're auditioning for a part. And it's just like, a lot of times, some of these casting offices, they don't even use, they'll call on those 50 people, they don't even use any of them. They'll just recast, or they'll find another 50 people they can potentially cast. So, and that's kind of what led me to making my own product in films. It's just like, I got sick of that after like a little over a year, and want to kind of create my own path and destiny by, using my own finances and things to make my own products instead of like relying on others and trying to do the casting calls and stuff. It's very, very tough life living like that, I think.
Yeah, it is a grind, and you're always sort of reaching for this carrot, and sometimes you grab it, and then sometimes you don't.
Right.
Was there a defining day where you said, no, was it the day you enrolled in the film school, or what was it where you said, I don't think this route is for me, I want to make films?
I think it was accumulation over that little over a year. It was like a year and a half when I was doing that. But when I enrolled into the film program, that's when I fell in love with like directing stuff, and I said, this is awesome. Just making my own products, I can create my own, vision for the story in the film, and write it, and then make my own characters, and if I wanted to be in the film like I do for a lot of stuff, for almost all my stuff, I could write my own characters on the way I would want to portray it or whatever. Because it's usually the writer, you know the character's the best and the story the best for the most part, because you're writing it, you're creating it. So yeah, I think when I enrolled in that program was really what was a turning moment for me, and changed a lot. From there, that's when things started to really change for me out here, and I started seeing a lot more success and exposure, and yeah, that was awesome. It was a good day.
Keith, do you come from a line of filmmakers?
No, I don't. I'm the first one actually in my family. Yeah.
Okay. So I just find it fascinating that you had sort of this business vision along with creative vision to go to AFM with a script that was not finished yet.
Correct.
And already trying to find distribution for it. That's pretty amazing. Where are you getting those ideas from? That's,
so I wrote, American Film Market's usually November of every year in Santa Monica, California. And when I went there, I was in the process, I was still writing The Mason Brothers. And I had two other projects. I had two other projects with finished scripts that I was trying to get off the ground with that too. So I kind of I had a couple scripts that I was trying to get off the ground. However, one of my good buddies in the business, was also a director and a producer. He recommended to me prior, like years ago. He's like, hey, you have to go to American Film Market. This is the place you got to go for being distributors, and even not just, that's great networking, you got to go. And he was kind of telling me how it worked and stuff, and he kind of mentored me, gave me some advice on how the whole process works, and walking into the different hotel room suites and meeting with the different distributors and stuff. So I had that. He kind of pitched the idea to me, and this is a business. I mean, that's what it is. It is creative, but in my opinion, it's more of a business than it is creativity in a sense. I mean, it is creative, but it's a business is what it is. So you make a film, especially a feature film, your goal should be, obviously, you want to make a product, you want to, obviously do what you love and you're passionate about it, but also try to make some profit off it if you can. So it's just smart to go to some place like American Film Market or another film market to try to sell a film or anything you have on your production company, other projects which you're trying to get started. So it's just wise to do that. And yeah, I just thought, I was thinking it was a business of mine. That's what should be done. And my friend was telling me to do that, so I did it.
Do you see other filmmakers around you, maybe the ones you went to film school with, or people that you talk to here in LA that have that same mindset? Because some people get very offended thinking that their work of art is also a product, and I can see how that would make people mad, but in actuality, it's true. It's a product.
Right. That's just what it is. Some people have that same mindset, but some people don't. I mean, some people have their own agenda of how they want to do things. But I mean, most filmmakers I've met, a lot of people go to film festivals to try to get distribution for their film. Most of them. So obviously, or just some type of exposure. So yeah, a lot of people have that mindset, but maybe some more than so. Some people treat it more than a business than maybe some don't, or some hustle harder and trying to get their film distributed or some type of pre-sales deal prior to shooting it. So it really just depends on the individual. I've seen different people do it different ways, but me personally, I've always, I think American Film Market and going to get some type of distribution deal and prior is important.
We have a lot of people watching the channel that would definitely want to do what you've done, and maybe they're younger, maybe they're older, maybe they're the same age, and they're like, you know what, I see Keith's trailer online and I'm like, I want to make that movie. I see his pictures online where he goes to this cool premiere and he's in a tux. It looks so easy. Can you tell us, is it really that easy?
No. I tell people this, and I really mean it. Making that feature film is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. It's so much work and time and money, and of course there's stress, and there's just so much involved. People you see, I didn't really understand the Hollywood industry before I came here, because all you see is the glamour and people on red carpets and stuff. You don't know the hard work, what it takes to get there. And I see some of these people, they walk across the stage of the Oscars, and I've never obviously been anywhere near that level. I'm not even just beginning with stuff, but I see a lot of the hard work that goes into this stuff, and it is a ton of hard work and time and money just to get to that level. So seeing people on that red carpet premieres and stuff, it took them huge sacrifices with not seeing friends, family for lengths of time, and making huge sacrifices to get there, either financially or time-wise or everything really. So it is extremely hard. You have to really be passionate about it and love it to do it, because nobody in their right mind would stick to something, what was so time-consuming and money and so much rejection. Even as a filmmaker, I mean, people are always shooting down your product either for distribution or for financing. They don't want to finance it. So there's always rejection with that or acting or whatever it is. There's so much rejection and negativity that nobody in the right mind would stick with something unless they really loved it. So that's kind of how the way I see it. So it is a ton of work. It is.
So what would you say were some of the hardest parts of it? Let's maybe leave out the financing, unless that was part of the hardest or one of the hardest parts. But what else?
Well, the hardest part overall, I think, was coordinating. So, I mean, I had an AD, assistant director on there, help me with stuff, but like they're all post-production. I was doing a lot of the stuff. I was post-production supervisor and doing a lot of stuff with my editor and my music composer, sound guy. So a lot of the project fell on me. So I released the film theatrically in LA through my company. And then my distributor helped out with a Northern California distribution deal recently. So I was doing a lot of that myself after the film was released. And I had people help me out, with pre-production and stuff. But I think it was the sheer volume of coordination with the amount of people, because we had maybe like 25 people in total on the film, from pre-production to principal photography and production to post-production, the whole thing, just on the film itself. So you're coordinating with all these people, and that's a lot of people to coordinate with. So it's constantly emailing back and forth and lining things up and making sure things don't fall through with like the premiere we did at the Egyptian Theater, and like making sure that doesn't fall through. The theatrical release, the different theaters we were lining up, is just making sure all that doesn't fall through and coordinating. So it's the amount of coordination and time and negotiating and like contracts back and forth is what was the hardest part, was the coordinating.
So is it where, you're waking up, the birds are chirping, things are great, you're like, we're on this, and then an hour later everything's falling apart?
Yeah, it can be. Yes, definitely, because then you get an email or a phone call like, hey, this location fell through for the film, or this fell through. So you got bad news with stuff, or someone doesn't want to be on the film anymore, or something, you have to replace somebody, or so there's always stuff what has to be done throughout the night. Like I'm staying up like throughout the night, like still, with other people on my team, like coordinating and doing stuff and making sure things are good to go. Because essentially you have all this money on the line too, and a contract that you have to produce and make for a distributor, and also make in a certain time, and just get done in general with the amount of money on the line and everything.
What time frame are we looking at in terms of how long? Is it 2015 until now?
For the film?
Yeah, from start to finish.
Took a year and a half, from everything from writing the script to shooting to post-production to distributing the film, getting out into the theater release and everything. That took a year and a half. So it was from started writing it in November 2015, and then it did the premiere in April 11th of this year, and then theatrical release the same month. And then obviously my distributor took it from there. So it was a year and a half, a long year and a half.
And you had bus ads?
Yes,
wow,
we did.
Cool.
We had like 40 bus ads on the Metro bus lines in LA. Wow. Which are the big, you see all the big movies and stuff on there. And I mean, we myself and my team, we came up with that concept on, I don't see a lot of independent movies do that. It's usually studio movies. So we're like, well, what's a way we can market this thing around LA? And one of my buddies has a company in Florida, and he told me, he's like, man, look, I get a lot of my business I get from bus ads. And, I kind of took his advice and stuff, and because bus ads are always moving. So they're not a fixed post, they're always moving around. So, you see them all over LA. So we did bus ads as like a form of marketing, the big ones.
And forgive me again if this is too much, but is this something your distributor's paying for?
No, all the bus ads, a lot of the marketing, all that stuff was through me and my company.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So it's making sure too that the picture looks right, and how are you checking up to make sure that they've even put them out there?
The bus ads? And that comes back to the previous question. That was the hard part. The coordination is like emailing back and forth to make sure that was proper. So they send like, samples of the bus ads of how they're gonna look on the bus, and then they start sending installation shots of them being installed in the bus yards in LA. And you get to see them. They're like, hey, they're gonna be going out this week. Here's the bus ads, on the buses at the yard right now. And then you get, samples, you get more samples from them of them driving around LA and stuff. And then you can see them around LA too, and, do your own market, take pictures to help market and put it in places. So.
Do they tell you which bus line? Like, hey, this is going to be on the 2 and it's going to go down Santa Monica?
Yes, there's certain routes they'll take what you can get. Ours went from downtown LA all the way westbound to Santa Monica. So all the way from downtown LA through Hollywood and through like Mid-Wilshire, Koreatown, all the way to Santa Monica. That whole section.
Wow. And so do you remember the first time you saw
it,
not just their picture, but you saw it in front of you?
Yes. It was kind of crazy seeing it, because you're just randomly driving and, hey, there's a bus ad. Like, it's kind of funny seeing it, yeah.
How'd you feel? I mean, so here you come from another state, and you have people that probably want you to come home because they miss you, but you see that moment where all this stress and hard work and everything is there on that bus. How was that?
Yes, because that's the film, that's your product you're putting out there. I mean, all that year and a half of work, and then there's your final, you kind of see that, like, that bus ad is a poster, basically. It's a poster on the side of the bus, a huge poster. And you see, hey, that's the product, what we made, that we made and put out there, and it's finished, mission accomplished. So it's a great sense of satisfaction, because a lot of people, especially first-time feature filmmakers, don't even complete the film all the times.
Right.
Something falls through financing or whatever, in post-production. So yes, it's a huge self-accomplishment, you see.
I bet. But that being said, it was still difficult, it sounds like.
Yes, definitely.
And so was it, it was much harder than you thought it would be?
Yes, I knew it was gonna be a lot of work. I knew it was gonna be a ton of work, but you really don't know what you're getting yourself into until you do it. Just like anything in life, that life experience of, you never know until you try. So, of course, I've been told from people, hey, making that feature is huge. It's a lot of work, a lot of time. Been told that from friends and stuff, but you don't know until you actually do it. So, yeah, it was, yeah.
Are you almost glad you didn't know? Just so because you had that product right there in LA. It's got to be really surreal.
It's awesome. Yeah, because, this is LA. This is the entertainment capital of the world. Movie capital of the world. This is the best place one of the best places to market a film, obviously. We have all the studios here, production companies, distributors, people in the business are here. So it's, I think it's huge seeing it here. It's great. And it's a ton of work just putting together.
But is it better that you didn't know? Or do you wish you actually did know, so then you could, I'm sorry, I don't mean to put words in your mouth,
right.
But do you?
I think that probably that I didn't know. However, that wouldn't have persuaded me from wanting to accomplish my goal and what I wanted. So, like, usually if I want something, if I have a goal in mind, I'm just gonna do it until I get it done, regardless of how hard it is and what it takes. It's gonna get done. So maybe if I would have known prior, like, what was involved, maybe I would have went about it a different way, or maybe changed my mind on some things, but it wouldn't have changed my mind of not wanting to do it overall.
From a film distributor's POV, would you say that short films don't matter? They don't count?
They do count. They're a resume builder, essentially. Because if you can't make a good short film, how do you make a good feature? Like, if your short film doesn't look good, then how are you going to persuade somebody that if it's your first feature, hey, this is going to look good? They do count. However, I think today's things have changed. It's cheaper to shoot a film than it was. Because a lot of things are shot digital now versus back in the 90s and before everything was like film. So it was a lot more expensive. So making a short film back then was a lot more expensive. So now it's kind of, you can make a feature film for relatively cheap. You might not have the best like lighting or cinematography or something, or the camera package or something, but you can shoot relatively cheap. So with that being in mind, making a feature, you know, that's kind of like, I think a lot of people's calling cards now versus a short film used to be kind of like your way of building a big resume. Now it's kind of like, well, a feature film is cheaper to make, so there are a lot of distributors and people are in the business are expecting you to make a feature and have a body of work. If you're asking for financing for another feature, they're expecting to see features, not so much shorts under your belt, but they do count, absolutely.
I think so, yeah. How many shorts did you make before the Mason Brothers?
Like four.
Four,
I think,
okay.
around there.
And when you were a little kid, were you filming stuff too?
No.
No, you weren't one of those kids that were taking things apart and, you know, you always hear about that? No, okay.
No, it wasn't until I got to LA is when I got, you know, all into the filmmaking and everything really.
Right, and so you had another course for yourself, but you decided to come out here and you had people that loved you back home that wanted you to stay, it sounds like. You know?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
it's a huge leap.
Yeah, it was a big move, big change, but it's what I wanted, so I came out here and went after it.
And now you're ready to do a second feature, or you're preparing?
Right, I'm in development on another feature right now called The Refuge, which means safe haven. It's another crime thriller. I mean, all my screenplays and everything, they're all crime thriller. So I'm in development on that and looking for financing for that now. I'm talking to people and we'll see how it turns out and on how when we're gonna be shooting and stuff. But I'm pretty happy with the package I put together so far with some of the cast, what I'm talking to, and obviously my same crew of people.
Oh, good.
So yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I'm pretty excited. This one's gonna be better than the last one. You got to keep making, you know, better products and better films.
And you've already written the script?
Yes, it's done. It's been done for a few months now.
Okay, and you said how long did it take?
2.5 months.
2.5 months. Okay,
Yeah.
So you took longer with this one. Were there certain things that you approached differently, structure-wise, or just how you did dialogue or anything?
Yes, I so with this one, unlike a lot of my other scripts, feature-length scripts I've written in the past, those I just kind of sat down and wrote with the concept I had in mind. Yeah, I just wrote it. With this one, because for the last year and a half I was so hung up on this last feature film and wearing all these different hats and getting out there and stuff, I was so busy I didn't have time to really sit down and write like a full-length feature-length script because I was so busy. So what I did was instead I just started taking notes on a Word document on what I had in mind for the different scenes and just in general for the cast and people and characters, and yeah, I just wrote down on a Word document all the different notes I had. I had like 4 pages of notes before I started writing it. So when I sat down and started writing it, I had all these notes to refer to, which was the first time I've never done that. And that was just because I was so busy for the past year and a half on this last one. So yeah, I changed that. I mean, so I had clip notes to kind of refer to, and there's some different things I changed in there based on this first feature, what worked, you know, for people's reactions, like watching the movie in the theaters and stuff, and things I can fine tune for different plot points and when to bring certain characters in or certain, you know, enticing moments, what will capture people's attention and people will enjoy suspense.
Are you a character in the film?
Yes, absolutely. Just like all of them. No, I guess that's a trademark of mine. I want to put myself in all of them. So yeah, like I said, you spend so much time with it, so it's just the trademark of mine. It's what I like. I think it's pretty cool. Sure. Like some directors do.
Mm-hmm. And again, the character is like you, is that right, or similar to you? Yeah. Okay.
A little bit different from the last one, but I want to change it up a little bit every film. Not exactly the same, but a little bit different.
When you plan on shooting it, what do you think you'll do differently? What are some things that what I learned from this, whether it was a location that fell through or?
We're gonna hire more people. I mean, ideally, depending on the budget, obviously I need more people. I need a bigger crew. More people in pre-production helping and in post-production. So definitely more people. That's really about it. I mean, just more people. The bigger the team, the bigger the army you have, the easier it is for you as a producer on the film. So you're not juggling too many hats. You have other people helping out. So it's really just hiring more people and delegating these duties and jobs to these other people.
Do you like to do a lot of stuff yourself? You know, there's certain people that they
Yeah,
love to just
yeah,
be
yeah.
really hands-on.
I do. I do. Like I did a lot of editing on this last one, Mason Brothers. I had an editor. My editor, me writing it, but I did do a lot of editing on it, and that was very tedious. I mean, I edited a lot of stuff, like the trailers and some little things, but like promotional stuff. But I think editing that's the part I don't say I hate the most, but it's very tedious and time consuming out of all the things. And that's why I told my team, I was like, hey, this next one, there's no way. I mean, I'll edit maybe the beginnings and maybe help out with the trailers, but I'm just gonna let someone edit it and I'll give them the notes on how I kind of want it. And like this last one, I was doing like 35% of the scenes I was editing myself, hand editing, and then like the other 35% I was kind of telling my editor what I wanted and stuff. And I let him edit like the other 35% and just edit it. And it was a lot of like dialogue and stuff because there was some complex scenes in there, what were like a stabbing scene or like a torture scene or a shooting scene or something like that, where it had to be done and edited a certain way that I had in mind, what I thought, just because of the shot list, what I came up with my cinematographer, that's just from studying films for so long, it's hard to explain to somebody, like, hey, when someone gets stabbed or the camera, it needs to flip to this angle or to over here to show this, the reaction of this actor's face, hide, the knife or whatever it is. Instead of explain that, it's kind of easier just to do it because you've seen it in films and how you want it with the shot list you came up with. So it was a lot of hands-on with that. But this next one, I don't want to, it's too time because I let someone just do it and I'll correct notes or anything, whatever.
What are you using to edit on?
Adobe Premiere.
Oh, okay.
It's a good program off of.
Yeah.
My editor had a big PC. I know a lot of people edit off Macs, but he had a huge PC station. That's what we edited on. So a lot was done on that with Adobe.
And you taught yourself how to use the Adobe or the Creative Suite?
Actually, I learned that in my filmmaking course classes. And we started editing everything on Adobe. From all the things we shot, we learned at the computers in the lab how to edit off of there from the professor. Alex Pickering's a great professor from USC, and he teaches the course in East LA. And he was teaching, how to edit and stuff. And you just learn from the courses and the materials and the guides. They had like these little CD-ROMs, like guides, and I kind of walking through stuff. And that's what I learned, and just went from there.
I know you have a 4-year degree, but you also have a filmmaking degree, is that, or certificate?
Certificate, it's essentially like a trade school.
Great.
It's a trade school I went to in East LA, and I was there for about a year. And it has different, each semester has like a different level of difficulty or like more requirements. So I went for about a year, graduated with 2 certificates from there. And that's where I learned, a lot of the different stuff on kind of like how to, maybe direct a film or be an AD on a film, assistant director, all the different jobs basically, how to edit and all that stuff. And then I kind of took from there and decided what I really wanted to do, which was writing and directing my own material. So.
It sounds like you had a positive experience there. But that being said, do you think someone still needs film school to make movies?
No, they don't. It depends on the individual, because you need to, either way, the best way to learn how is hands-on. Just pick up a camera and start shooting stuff. There's been a lot of big name directors that have started out, I think the majority of them didn't go to film school. They just picked up a camera and started shooting and kind of taught themselves, which you can. Your best film school really is watching films, because then you learn how to put together, you can see the different shots they use for the film, and you can kind of take from that. Okay, there's different shots and stuff. So watching a lot of films, and then just pick up a camera and just start shooting stuff. But some people are, maybe better for the film school. Maybe they'll learn better. Me, essentially, I wanted to go just because I didn't really just want to walk in blind and start picking up a camera and shooting. I kind of wanted some type of instruction just to get started. So it kind of helped with learning the basics, and then from there it was relatively simple. Once you learn the basics, you just kind of build off of there. You can see their films, watching their movies, and how to put stuff together.
What did you learn about working with other people? Whether it was just where you guys were all on the editing bays together on Adobe Premiere Pro, or what, I think that's what you were using.
Right.
Collaborating, or just on a break talking about ideas? What was it about the working with other people that you picked up the most from about filmmaking?
Well, you see everyone else's process and how they put together a film and their style, what works and what doesn't. So you can kind of talk to them based on, okay, they'll give you advice like, hey, you know, this works for this if you're going to do this certain way, like shoot a film this way. You get a lot of advice on different ways to not skyrocket your budget, I would say. I talking to other people, obviously, you learn from their filmmakers and directors, producers, like, hey, this is a way you can save money and you're not spending thousands of dollars. Like I've seen some people come into the business and they've never made a film, not even a short film or feature or anything. And they're like, hey, I have all this money, I want to make a feature film or whatever, I want to produce it or whatever, I just don't know what I'm doing. So those people come in, they start talking to their people and hiring people in the business but they don't really know that well. And then they start giving these huge budget breakdowns like, oh, you need all this money for this huge crew, for all these grips and gaffers and stuff for this film. You need all these people, you need all this money. And they end up making this film for all this money when really they could have made it for 1/4, where they didn't really need all those people. Which I even had for me, I've had before I made my feature, I was thinking about working with their production company and they had like this big breakdown of this huge crew. And I told my team of people, I was like, dude, we don't need all those people. Like I've done this on my short films with a very relatively smaller crew. It's a lot cheaper, you know, it's a lot better with this, I think. You don't need all this stuff. And then I talked to my cinematographer who's produced and stuff, and he's like, yeah, we'll do this, and it worked out fine. So I think talking to other filmmakers who are in the business, you can learn from them on, you know, things that work for making your budget relatively small.
What are some of the tips to save money with a production, whether it's hiring less crew or certain locations?
You know, it really someone has to do with the story. I would say, like this film I did, The Mason Brothers, was very few locations. I had 2 locations, that's it. So the film takes all place in a big caliber shop, but there's multiple rooms there. And then there's this other mansion that took place at, so that instead of having like some scripts have like 20 locations, we didn't have that. We had multiple locations, but they were condensed into one area. So instead of having like 20 different like outdoor locations, we had to travel. I mean, that's a lot of money and a lot of time because the crew has to pick up and travel to their location, and you're running short on time and then paying for the other locations unless you get them for free. So like that's huge. You know, there's other things you can do with just, some people let you shoot for free, kind of like I mentioned before, at like their place or their restaurant or something, put a nice establishing shot of their restaurant to help market their restaurant, but you can use it, you know, on the house on them. So yeah, that, and it depends on the caliber. I mean, there's some movies where you need a bigger crew. Like you're gonna need, it's helpful to have more cameras, a B-roll, and more sound guys and stuff, but there's certain instances where you don't need that. And for my stuff, it was pretty simple. Like I used a lot of the same overhead lighting effects, and some of it's kind of simple setups for the most part. Not really, but I mean, you don't need tons of people. So there's different ways you can, you know, lower your budget.
So for the Mason Brothers, what do you think you could have maybe scaled back on? Was there anything that you said, you know what, we probably should have done this and then we could have saved some money, or?
Not much really. Yeah, I've thought about that. I've thought about that. Even after I made it, I was like, what can I have done to save, you know, more money? I can't really think of much because I thought everything we did was pretty small scale. I didn't have like a 9-person camera department and like all these grips, like I said, and gaffers and sound people. And I thought we did okay with the marketing. We marketed it pretty well. I put a lot of marketing in the print and advertising, the marketing, obviously. I put a lot of money in there, that's where a lot of marketing should go, in my opinion. So, yeah, and they had some favors done with some locations that, you know, I knew some of the people, and we were able to shoot there for next to nothing. So, yeah, I don't know. There's not really much. I've thought about it. Really, there's not much I really think of.
So it's pretty scaled down.
It was. Like, okay. I tried to really logistically make this, like, you know, as cheap end that I can make. Not cheap, but make it not a huge expensive movie. It was like over $1 million some for a first feature.
Do you remember watching it at the Egyptian? What that was like?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, it was a unique experience. I mean, you had a lot of family and friends were there, so A lot of people were clapping like when the name of their family member came in the screen, which is cool in the beginning. Everyone was like clapping in certain parts, because when you watch that at the other theaters, no one claps at the beginning. So it's, like, I mean, they're not like it was at the premiere, because you have, like I said, friends and family were clapping at certain credits coming to the screen. And the Egyptian's a huge theater. It's like 616 seats, and the screen's massive. And it's really nice, and the surround sound system's phenomenal. I mean, Alien from 1979, really Scott's movie, premiered there. So watching that with the music and the amount of people and people clapping, that was pretty cool. Really cool experience, because it's a product you made, you know, with your team and stuff. Seeing it on a big screen in Hollywood, hard Hollywood. So one of the top 3 best theaters in the world, in my opinion, is.
Do people get appropriately spooked or laughed or whatever, different things happen at different scenes like you thought they would? Or were there moments where someone actually had a reaction that you didn't think they would have? You know? Yeah.
I mean, they laughed at certain parts what I thought they would, and there's some parts that they laughed at what I didn't think they would necessarily, which was good. I mean, it shows, because the movie for the most part is a pretty serious movie tone. It's like maybe like a Heat. It's pretty serious. It's not like a lighthearted movie at all.
Sure.
So, and there's some scenes. There's like a couple torture scenes where I thought people would be more like, you know, in awe by or more reactions to. But there was reactions about that. There'd be more people like saying stuff or something during the film. But it turned out well overall.
How come you think you're attracted to dark films?
It's just my style. I think every director has a certain style. You should have, at least. I mean, that's always been, I've always loved, like, there's certain movies people maybe not heard, like Dark City. That's a movie from the 90s, like late 90s. It takes place at night. Obviously, like my film takes place all at night. And a lot of the screenplays I write all take place at night with a certain overhead lighting effect. But it's just my style. I like that type of style. I've seen some films like that, and that's just what I like. It creates a different atmosphere, a mood, and a suspense. So like I said, all my stuff is crime thriller, but you add that overhead lighting effect and like the darkness to it, and it creates a different atmosphere and tone to the film versus putting like more lighting and stuff. So it creates more suspense, in my opinion. That's just what I like.
And you write at night too?
Right. I write at night, and the film, most of them all take place at night.
Right. So you kind of
some day scenes, but a lot of it's at night.
Oh, okay. So you're getting into that mindset. 'Cause are you more of a night person?
Yes, I am. I don't know, the last 10 years since college, that's what I've always been like, I think.
Yeah, some people, I mean, that's just their morning. Some people are morning people, some people are night people.
Right.
So it sounds like that's what you're attracted to, and that's what you write. And have you considered writing a comedy, or you just know that's okay to watch, but it's not really what's in my heart to make?
Yes, but no. I joked around with one of my good buddies from middle school and high school, Matt Webb, which is actually in the film. And we just jokingly talked about, hey, we should do a comedy based on some of the old, friendships we had from our hometown, Tampa and stuff. But it's not my style. I don't think I would ever do a comedy. I mean, knock on wood, who knows in 10 years from now. But I don't ever see myself really doing one. But who knows? You never know. I can't say no. But my style is that crime thriller, like the dark tone. Sure. Like you have that, like Drive. That's a pretty dark movie. Some of it's at night, and it's just my style. I don't know. That's just what I like, and it appeals to me the most. More of a serious type of film.
And another character who's based on action, and you really don't know totally what he's thinking, or
right.
He's very quiet into himself.
Right. Exactly.
When he takes action, it's action, and yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, those are the best, I think. This is my certain style I like.
Sure. So just kind of stick with what you know and what you like. And
right.
I think you said earlier that you really wanted to put a lot of your effort and money into marketing, which is smart. I noticed that a lot of, horror sites covered the Mason brothers?
Right.
Was that strategic, even though it's more of a dark thriller?
Yes, I think so. I mean, my publicist, I let deal with a lot of that marketing side in that sense. And I did a lot of the marketing, like the bus ads and social media marketing. Maybe it was marketing with the social media and bus ads and like outdoor advertising is what I was focusing on with my company. And let my publicist focus on a lot of the advertising, like the internet sites and different interviews with people. So that's kind of how we just distribute the marketing in that sense. But a lot of the money, yes, did go into marketing which I've seen. I've seen a lot of people make a film, a feature, or anything, and they make that mistake of they put all the money into like production, for instance, and not enough into post-production, or just mainly not enough into prints and advertising at the end. Because it's like, cool, you can make $1 million movie, but unless no one's gonna know about it, then what's the point of making it? Because you can put all that money into that, but if you don't have enough money for prints and advertising, then no one's gonna know about it. So that's why I would just say like, hey, at least put 40-50% of your budget into that, prints and advertising if you can, or half. Everyone has a different model of approaching it. Some guys even probably do more, but you should put a lot into it.
So with the film that you're working on now, where do you want to spend most of the marketing budget? What do you think really works? Did the bus ads work?
They work. It's good. It's good advertising because, like I said, everyone around town sees it. You can do that in any city. I mean, every city has buses, but LA has like millions of buses everywhere. I mean, there's a bus in every street corner. I mean, where would I go in the future as far as putting more money into? It really just depends. I mean, YouTube's great. I didn't do YouTube, but YouTube ads actually is a huge marketing tool that a lot of studios use. I mean, I don't know how, I've looked into it. I guess it can be expensive. The more money you put into it, the more it will be out on certain links. I mean, you can put tons of money into it and it'll come up on like every single video. But obviously a lot of studios are doing that and they have tons of money. So maybe YouTube, look into those, and they have that. IMDb is a good place to market a film. They'll market your entire film on like the back page of the IMDb. You go to imdb.com and then you'll see the first behind like all the links and stuff is your posters for your movie. So like YouTube, IMDb's a good thing. Maybe more into social media marketing, and and then maybe outdoor advertising too. More. Yeah.
So it did work. I'm never sure how in this current digital age outdoor ads work, but it sounds like
they can, yeah. I think it's how you go about it too, because there's fixed, and people do the big what do you call it, billboards. They'll do big billboards, or like the small around LA or some of the big cities. You'll see like the posters. You can get like multiple posters posted on like different areas, different street corners, but they're fixed posts. So I mean, I haven't tried to fix posts like that before. I did the bus ads, but I don't know how well those work. But I've seen a lot of, like they say in business, there's really no correct way to go about it. It's what works best for you, or what you think works best based on your prior experience. Because you have 10 different people who approach a certain business, and they're all gonna probably do it differently as far as marketing. So, and when I was making my film, I mean, there was other people in the business, like name people, legit credits and stuff. So, you should do this, you should do this way. Like, and they all had every single person I talked to had a different way, had a different advice and a different way of marketing, every single one of them. So it's like, you have to take it for a grain of salt and kind of come up with your own model, what you think's gonna work, and learn on your own experience, but take their experience and what their advice is, and learn from that, and use some of that too if you want, obviously.
So do you think if your buddy in Florida hadn't worked with bus ads or outdoor advertising, you probably wouldn't have thought of that? Maybe.
Probably not.
Yeah.
He recommended it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, he recommended it, and it was, he's all hats off to him. I mean, he was kind of mentored me a lot, because I've never really had a business until I made my production company. And then he had his business in Florida, and his name's Kirby LaValle. He's a good guy. He old friend of mine, and he helped. He was kind of mentoring me with a lot of stuff with what worked for him with his company, and how I tried all these different things. What works, I think works. You should try this if you want. So yeah, he was a big influence. Which I think everybody should have a business mentor, if you can find one. Starting a business, or whether it's a film business or any type of business, you should, if you can get one, get a business mentor. Because those are the people who can guide you and help you. And it's like walking into it blindly it's hard, because you don't know maybe really what you're doing unless you've run a business before.
Did you know though Kirby would be your mentor, or you just knew him for years? You saw what he had accomplished and said, yeah, cool, can I ask you some questions?
No, I just knew he had his business, and I started talking to him, and he started giving me a lot of pointers, and I trust him as a friend. I've known him for a long time, and started bouncing ideas off of him and what his advice was, and he gave me his advice. So I didn't really know that it would work like that. I just started asking him questions and getting feedback on stuff.
let's suppose you attend AFM this coming year or next, and you're sitting down with a friendly first-time filmmaker, and you say, you know what, I just want to give you 5 tips that you absolutely must know about making your first feature film.
First thing I would say, definitely have, which is more of a producer's job, but still, I think having a budget locked on, you have the budget and the financing locked in, that you have all the money you need for the entire film, from pre-production to principal photography, post-production, to distributing and prints and advertising, the entire everything that is locked in. And then to have a set schedule and a time frame on when you want to get this film out there and made, and not lingering and taking 5 or 10 years, but having a certain time frame, like, hey, this is my goal, I want this done, completed, out to the world by this time frame. This also preparation with your cinematographer and other people with the shot list and what you want, your vision, like kind of talking to your team prior on, this is what I think for these certain scenes this is how they should look, this is what I want, collaborating with them. Then also I think it's huge and really, really important to, as a director, have a good working relationship with the cast and the crew, but essentially the cast, you're working with these people on set, directing them on what you want them to do, in your vision. It's important that you have a good friendship and working relationship with them, because you're going to spend a lot of time with these people on set, and then even through post-production, some of them, I mean, you're still talking, communicating with some of them, depending on the size of the film. And then once it gets out to everybody, if you're doing a theatrical release or a premiere, you're going to see these, I mean, everyone's going to come and support the film. So it's good that you have a good working relationship with these people, and you continue to have that. So that's important, I think, for any director.
That's great. That's excellent. Do you think, did anyone sit you down and say the same, or this is all stuff you learned?
No, not really. I just, from experience, this is my opinion.
Those are
Definitely.
great tips.
Yeah, and definitely the working relationship, I really touch base on that. That's huge, because if you don't get along with certain actors or certain people, especially as a director, it's not going to work. They're not going to respect you. It's just not going to, they might not put in all their effort and time into your film and the scenes and everything you want. So you have to have that respect from the cast, and then you have to respect them too. So it's a mutual respect and the crew, everybody. It's a collaboration overall. It's what it is in a business.
Sure, and it doesn't maybe mean that they're bad actors or bad people. It just maybe they didn't want to really do it. And if you do anything with someone who's half-hearted, it just creates...
Right. You want to work with people who are passionate and take direction well, but also, you know, if they're suggesting, hey, what do you think about this? And you open your mind to, yeah, we can change that around. That's cool. Open your mind to their suggestions, and also just collaborating with them, and you know, having that continue on until the film's out and in the public, and continuing, like I said, to continue to work with these people over time, long time, for a career.
Keith, I'm hearing the word product come up a lot, and I love it. I love that you are thinking of a film as a product. It's not just a project. It's not just something you've created, a work of art, whatever. Where are you getting this? Because I'm thinking of a product sometimes as a piece of code someone's written, they've turned it into an app, whatever, but you're seeing a film as a product.
Right. Well, essentially, so a film, it's a piece of art. It is. It's a piece of art, but it's also a product in the sense that this is a business, and most people, if you make a short film, usually that's because, you know, usually short films don't make money, or they don't get distribution. They're not really meant for that. So that's not really something you sell. But when you get into the feature film world, it's like going from maybe like college football to NFL. You're going step up the ladder to where it's so time consuming and it's so much money involved, that you're then, once you step up to that ladder, you're kind of stepping up to the plate and telling the industry, like, hey, I'm ready to, you know, I like making films or whatever it is, I'm passionate about this, but I'm also here to sell, you know, I want to sell films too, because making a feature film, that's usually, they're a piece of art, but also it's a product in the sense of, this is all business. You're there to sell as well as make the film. So that's something, the way I see it, it's a business overall. That's really what it comes down to. And, you know, if you're passionate about it and that's something you enjoy doing, and it's a piece of art, it's also something that I see as also, I want to sell it too, and have it, people see it, not just make it over a 2-year period, however long it takes.
Has anyone ever challenged you over that? Like, oh man, you keep calling your film a product. Can you just call it a film? But I mean,
not really. But I think it's just, no, not really. I just think it's you can go make, like I said, if you just want to make a piece of art and just see it only as just that, then go ahead and make, your short films and stuff that's less time consuming. But once you're making a feature, I mean, it's like, that's a totally different animal. You're spending every waking moment of your life on that thing. It seems like, at least for me, that's how it was. Every waking moment of your life, energy, sacrificing friendships, time with friends and family, and you stepped up to that plate to where this is, you're passionate about this, but also you want to start selling your films and make it a business. Is really what it comes down to when you start making features. So when you're in that level, in that category, and you stepped up to, hey, I'm a feature film director, you're also a businessman. That's essentially what you are. If you're doing short films, you're not as, that's, like I said, you can just do that for fun, I think, and you can try to sell those too, yes. But the feature film's really what distributors, people buy into, and they'll start selling and stuff. So at that point, you're there to sell something which you're passionate about, and also a piece of art, but it's a product in that sense.
so calling it a product sounds like in your mind, doesn't diminish the fact that it's creative and that you put your, ideas and these different maybe fantasies in your head or whatever, but it also means that there's money on the line and there's accountability with it.
Correct. And I equate it to almost like, say, an engineer makes something. It takes him 2 years, 3 years to make it. Well, sure, as an engineer, whatever he's doing in that field, like, he's passionate about what he likes to do. He might even see it as like some type of like art or whatever, or he's something that he loves to do, right? But also he's there to make this thing, and he's there to sell it too at that point. So I kind of see it as that, like, engineers taking this product or taking this piece of work, they're building it up, and then they're putting it out in the market. So that's kind of the way I see it in a certain sense as well. But you're passionate about it too, and it is a piece of art, but it's also this on top of that, a product, something to sell.
Right, like an inventor from years past.
It's an invention, technically.
Okay.
It's like making anything, technically, and then selling it. So, and taking years to make it, but you're passionate about it, obviously, because who would spend years making something unless you really enjoyed it?
Do you have like a 5-10 year plan, or you just know you're going to take it project to project?
Mainly project to project, because I have other scripts written and projects that I'm always currently trying to package. It's kind of like whichever one takes off first, I go with. However, I am focusing on this one I wrote a couple months back as my next one, because it's relatively low budget compared to the other scripts. So it's more wiser, I think, for me to take it step by step, and to working up to bigger budget movies is to do it that way. So that's my next project. But as far as like a plan, not really. I hope to shoot all the ones I've written so far eventually in my lifetime. I don't know when that will happen, but I know what I'm passionate about and I love, and is this. So whichever one takes off first. I don't really have like a set timeline, really.
When you wake up, what's your mindset in terms of like, you're here in LA, that you're still young and have a lot of time left, but at the same time, it sounds like you don't want to waste time, which is great.
Right.
So what's your mindset?
Every day I wake up, I have a certain goal I want to accomplish, or something for the day at least. Every single day, my philosophy is this: it's, if you work really, really hard at something, extremely hard, and you're putting in 110% effort, and you're focused on it, and you're disciplined with it, and you're putting in a ton of work, and you're truly striving for it every single day, it's really hard to fail. It's just hard to fail. Because if you're working that hard at something every single day, it's just the odds, or it's not as stacked against you. It's hard to fail when you're working that hard and you're extremely determined to accomplish something. So, every day I wake up, I have that certain thing in mind that, okay, today I want to accomplish these things to move forward with this project, or with this, or whatever it is, to further the career and make this next film or make this one. So I have all that in mind every single day. As long as I'm moving forward with something every single day, the wheels are always turning and things keep getting, accomplished and moving forward. So I have that mindset of just that constant hustle. And I think you have to, especially out in LA. This isn't like a smaller city to be a director, writer, or like an actor or whatever. This is LA. This is a lot of competition. There's a lot of fierce competition. But if you work hard and you get to know some of the right people, it's not that hard. That's the way I look at it. Especially if you work hard. I think if you work hard, then you have everything going for you. Because say you don't have financing for a film, whatever. Well, if you work hard, you'll find a way to overcome those challenges if you're willing to put in the work. Whether it's that or you want to get more acting jobs or whatever it is, you work hard, you'll find a way to overcome that challenge. And that's kind of my philosophy, is not quitting, is always going forward. So every single day I have that mentality and that hustle in mind. I think that people who truly accomplish what they want in LA in the entertainment industry have that mindset. So I see some of these guys, these people, win these awards or wherever, Academy Awards, Golden Globes, or wherever they're at, small film festivals, and I see, well, they must have, they must work hard at least. So they have to work hard to get there. I know that. So it's good to meet other people like that.
Excellent. Well, you talk about challenges, and I think that's one of the misconceptions about coming out here is that, oh my gosh, I'm going to be creative and it's going to be an upswing the entire time. But no, there's days when it's not an upswing and you hit an iceberg. So on those days that everybody has, what do you do differently to not quit? Because some people, we all have them no matter what we're doing out here, but the difference is who actually gives up when those...
Right. Really go back to the drawing board and figure out why is this not working? Because, something's not going to work. For instance, I came out here and I started doing a little bit of acting stuff and trying to do auditions. It wasn't really working. So I changed my approach. And I went to something else what I also was passionate about. Well, I didn't really know I was that passionate about when I started filmmaking, making my own products. And then things had changed the whole landscape for everything out here for me. So I started seeing a lot more success, meeting a lot more people. People started taking me more seriously, and that's when things started to take off a little bit for me. So you have to always come up with a game plan. It's just like anything, maybe a sport, a football game, whatever, boxing match, anything, or a war, whatever. If something's not working, you have to figure out, okay, what can we do differently? Why is this not working? And let's change the approach and see. And you just keep changing your approach, what's not working. And I think also what's important is find something to keep the wheels moving with, exposure or whatever it is. So if you're like, hey, I'm not getting any products made or I'm not getting any jobs out here, go do a small project with a friend, make something on your own, shoot it for that almost nothing. Market stuff online or wherever. Do something to get exposure or to put yourself out there and keep, because then that gets things going, wheels moving again, and people, you can start talking to more people in the business versus just like not doing anything because you hit a wall. It's important.
I know there's that new phrase now, pivot. It's like the new trendy. But if you think about it, it's true. So okay, just try to adjust something. But sometimes that's hard to do, especially if your mindset is I have to have it this way, and then something happens and it's emotional. You want it to go the way you want it to go, but
right.
So it sounds like you don't dwell on any of that for too long.
No, I just keep pushing forward, and I try not to think about it too much. I think that something's not working, I try to make a quick fix, sit down, make another approach, and then go after it, and then keep pushing forward with it, and not think about it. Because it's when I've seen people out here, even some of the actors and people or whatever, writers, other people, they're like, hey, this is not working, and they get all bent, out of shape about it, and they're thinking about it, dwelling on it. As I tell them, like, man, don't, stop thinking about it. Just go out and either make your own product for, like I said, a short film or something for next to nothing, or a scene, or do something, or write a script, or just something small, submit it to a film festival contest or some type of contest for writing or something to get the wheels moving with other avenues in the business. And don't just limit yourself to this one job in the business of, I just want to be a director of photography, or I just want to be a director, I just want to be an actor. Because you don't know what, maybe you're better at something else than another, and you might like something better than another, or you can do multiple things, which is like a triple threat, in the business, which is good, because you can do different things, and it opens up a lot more opportunity and options.
What was something about coming to LA and attempting to be this or that, or being creative, whatever it is, that was actually a wonderful surprise that you never really hear about? You always hear, oh, be careful, don't trust this, don't trust that, which all those things exist. but something that was actually a wonderful thing that you weren't expecting. That's a positive
Right.
to being here.
The friendships, people you meet a lot of people would have the same goals or passions that you do, and you could literally go. It's almost kind of like a fraternity. I mean, you go to like a bar or some place where there's the same types of people, and you can immediately start up a conversation without any type of hesitation, and it's easy to start up a conversation with them and not be drawn back and not like hesitant, because you know they're the same types of mindset maybe you have, same types of people. So it's almost kind of like maybe a fraternity. It's easy to kind of approach and talk to those people and the friendships, just meeting the people and all the different types of people around here, and friendships are huge, what I've learned and seen.
So knowing like LA people that love movies, you could basically pick certain directors and do you remember this film, and then bam, it's like you're instantly bonded over that person's work.
The connection is there, yes. Immediately, like you start talking to them, then that connection is there, is that bond.
Right, like remember that scene, and then it creates this energy around that where then you kind of like form some type of friendship or acquaintance.
Right, exactly. Especially at like a film festival or somewhere, that's huge there. That's where all the same types of people like you are going to, and you can share interest, and you meet great people through there. So the people I've met coming to LA have been great people. That's the biggest thing I've probably taken away from here, is all the different types of people I've met and the friendships overall.